It's finally that time, 24 hours until Diablo 4 comes out, and we get to play this amazing game. But before then, tonight is all about prep. Tonight is all about figuring out your leveling build, what skills you're going to put in, what aspects you're going to go after, which dungeons you're going to get the Codex stuff, all that stuff. Plan it all out tonight so that tomorrow night you just get to play and you don't have to overthink which skills you're putting in when, and that is what this video is for. I'm going to take my Frost Sorcerer build from the beta, you guys may have seen that video, and we're expanding on it to go up to level 50. I'm going to recreate the build for you guys so you know exactly the points to put and where to put them, and if there are any respecs, enchantments, all that good stuff for our Frost Sorcerer. But before we get into it, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an announcement. I am now part of the Diablo Partner Program. This little potato, this little spuds tuber is part of the Diablo Partner Program. So you're going to be seeing a lot of me in the Diablo 4 Twitch directory, as well as a lot more YouTube videos coming your way. And I hope you guys are going to join me over on Twitch on early release. I'm going to be streaming in a full 4-man party for the campaign. We're going to be running through the campaign, doing lots of dungeons, watching all the cutscenes, enjoying our time with the game, because as you guys may or may not know, this is my first Diablo. So I want to take my time and treat her right and, you know, do all those good things. So if you want to enjoy all the fun over on the channel, twitch.tv/AbbyHour. I will see you guys there. Of course, on YouTube, I'm going to be putting out a lot of guides and builds for you guys to utilize, especially if you're a new player and maybe some of these other guys that have been in the game for so long, they use a lot of terms and things that you might not know if you're not used to ARPGs. That's where I come in. I'm going to explain it in a way that I would understand it as a new player. Anyways, enough about me. Let's get to the build. I'm sure everybody else is skipping through to the timestamp right now. So this build is going to have all of those Codex aspects, so you go straight to the dungeon. I'm going to have a map here with all of the Codex circled once we get to that point. But first, we're going to go into the skill tree. This is an overview of the skill tree. However, we're going to break it down by point and we're going to make it again, because that's going to help you guys know which points you want to put in at what time. So we've opened up a new build planner calculator on d4builds.gg, and we're going to go through all the points. Now I have them right here. I'm going to put a link to this Google Doc below so you guys can go and just use this on the side when you're playing the game. This makes it extremely easy to know what points to put in when. So initially we're going with Arc Lash, and I'm going to explain why we're taking certain points all the way through here. So first we're going Arc Lash and then Enhanced Arc Lash, and then we're going down to Ice Shards. So you're gonna have two skills right off the bat. We've got Arc Lash does lightning, but the main reason why we want to use this is for the enchantment at level 15, and then also for this Glinting Arc Lash is going to give us more of our cooldowns back. One of the major nerfs that Sorc got between the closed beta and the server slam was their Frost Nova was nerfed. The cooldown for it was nerfed like crazy. And so we want to make sure we are lowering our cooldowns a lot, because a lot of our skills are going to be cooldowns. So we do Ice Shards, we've got Enhanced Ice Shards, and then we've got Destructive Ice Shards. We're going to take this one first in order to get that vulnerable on deck ASAP, because that is key for boosting our damage to vulnerable, all that good stuff. But we're going to change this to Greater Ice Shards eventually, but I'll go over that. You can see it over here. But we have Destructive Ice Shards, and then we're going to go back and pump up Ice Shards to get down to the next tier here. Then we're going to take our cooldowns, Teleport, Frost Nova, and Ice Armor. You really can take those in any order that you want, depending on if you need the movement. I'm going to be running in a group with 2 Necros, so I might not even need Teleport because I don't want to leave them in the dust too much. But we're going to take those 3 cooldowns. Now that we have 3 cooldowns, we want to get this Glinting Arc Lash, because this is going to give us cooldowns every time we stun. And right now we're only stunning every 10 Arc Lashes, but once we add the enchantment, we're going to be stunning even more. So then we're going to go back down. We're going to grab Enhanced Frost Nova and Mystical Frost Nova. This gives us our vulnerability. So then we can go back and undo this Destructive Ice Shards, redo the Greater Ice Shards. Now our Ice Shards are going to treat enemies as if they were frozen when we have a barrier active, which is going to be a lot with our ice armor and some of our aspects that we're picking up. So our ice shards are going to be ricocheting a lot, which is really, really good. Ice shards are insane DPS when you get them up and running. So speaking of, we're going to put the next 3 points into ice shards and just max it out at 5 out of 5. Gets that up and going by level 16, so that when you're starting to get to like your first few story bosses, you can just get through them no problem. You're going to have vulnerable and you're going to have maxed out ice shards. You're also going to have Frost Nova, which gives you a lot of great AoE coverage. Obviously, we want to get this cooldown down to a manageable number so that you don't feel like you're waiting for your Frost Nova to come back. That's what this Glinting Arc Lash is here for. Now that we're level 16 actually, we're going to go ahead and grab our first enchantment, which is going to be Arc Lash. So you can go over here and set that up in game. And then right now for skills, we have Arc Lash, Ice Shards, Teleport, Ice Armor, Frost Nova, and then our last one is going to be for our ultimate. We're going to go back to Enhanced Ice Armor, Enhanced Teleport, and then Shimmering Ice Armor. Obviously, any of these that have a defensive perk to them, you can put those on sooner or later depending on how you feel in the game. If you feel like you're a little squishy, then you might want to improve your ice armor. You could also take Mystical Ice Armor over Shimmering Ice Armor if you feel like you're really squishy, because we are going to be making the enemies vulnerable a lot, so it's going to give you more ice armor barrier. Enhanced Teleport is also going to decrease the cooldown, which is really nice. And then the next thing we're going to do is bump up that Frost Nova. This gets us down to 19 seconds. It's going to be just a nice quality of life to have a 5-second faster Frost Nova, trust me. Next, we're going to go back up to Devastation here, giving us our max mana increased by 3. This is just to get us down to Elemental Dominance, which says your core skills deal 3% increased damage when cast above 50. We're going to get 3 points into there, so it's going to do 9% extra damage. This is a multiplier, so x9 times 9, and ice shards are already really powerful, so this is going to give us that extra boost of damage. Speaking of damage, the next points that we're going to take are Glass Cannon. I really enjoyed this in both betas. I maxed out Glass Cannon. I think it's great. If you feel like it is hurting you a little bit, then don't put as many points into it, or don't spec into it at all. It's your choice. I didn't see that much of a difference because we're using this ice armor a lot, so I didn't really mind going into it. Also, if you find armor that gives you 1 point to all defensive abilities, I think it's on your amulet actually, you can also slot in Flame Shield until we get down to our ultimate. That's another good way to get another barrier and get more defensive abilities online. And then now we're level 30, so we can put 1 point into Firebolt, and that's going to be our second enchantment. So right here, we're going to go to Firebolt. This is going to apply additional burning damage to enemies. So we're going to put that in there so that we can then pick up some passives that are going to help us increase our damage to burning. We can also use Paragon boards that say damage to burning. We can use damage to burning passives, any kind of attributes that you find on your armor and stuff like that. So now we have a way to stun, vulnerable, and burning. And then after we do that, we're going to go down to Inner Flames. Speaking of the burning enchantment, we're going to pick up this Inner Flames, which doesn't really do anything because we're not using pyromancy skills, but it allows us to get Devouring Blaze, which says you deal times 30% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they're also immobilized, this bonus is increased to 75%. Now we're not doing immobilize, we're doing freeze, which is crowd control, but it's not immobilize, at least as far as I know. But if you're playing with someone that is doing immobilize, like a druid or barb, rogue, traps, stuff like that, then you're going to get that bonus. If you're playing alone, you want to look for ways to get immobilize from like an aspect or something. All right, after we pick up those, we're going to grab our ultimate. This is going to be able to be slotted now. So we add our ultimate. We've got all our skills, all our enchantments. But instead of augmenting the ultimate right away, I'm going to go to Permafrost. This is going to give us 15% increased damage to elites, which is huge. We have a lot of AoE. Our ice shards are helping for our single target, but this is going to make our ice shards hit like crazy. Once we pick that up, then we're going to go into Icy Touch. This gives us cold damage to vulnerable. This is another crazy increase. This is not, however, multiplicative. So see how this one says times 15 and this one is just 12. So it's something where you could pick up your Prime Deep Freeze and your Supreme Deep Freeze early if you want versus the Icy Touch. But once we do that, let's scroll down here. Now that we have our basics done, now we're going to start going into Lucky Hit. So Lucky Hit is a lucky hit. It's a gamble basically, but Sorcs can stack it the highest out of any class. So I really want to try and work around some lucky hit stuff. Because we have this precision magic, we can actually get up to 15% just from our skill tree. So we're going to go into that, 3 into precision magic here, and then we're going to go into avalanche, which is actually a lucky hit. It says your frost skills have a 10% chance to make your next cast of ice shards, frozen orb, or blizzard consume no mana and deal 40% increased damage. Chance is doubled against vulnerable enemies. So when we lucky hit with ice shards, we're going to have a 20% chance to cast it without mana and 40% increased damage, which is insane. Now, I don't know if this is going to feel like it's working a lot or not, because it's a 20% chance on top of our ice shards 16% chance, which is pretty low already. So it's kind of something we're gonna have to feel around and see if we like it. There's also Shatter, which is really good for ad clear, so you can use that as well. But now that we have all the lucky hit stuff, we're actually gonna go into Frigid Breeze. 3 points into here is going to say cold damage against vulnerable enemies has a 20% chance to generate 10 mana. Now this is great. This could actually put us at the point where we really don't have to worry about mana regen that much. Once we have 3 into Frigid Breeze, we're going to go into Hoarfrost, 3 over here, increasing our damage to chilled and frozen. When they're frozen, they're also chilled, so it's a pretty good bonus for us to pick that up. These are both multiplicative as well. And then finally, we're going to scroll back up here, take Shimmering Teleport to give us a damage reduction as we're getting higher up in level. And then we're actually going to go to Align the Elements and protection, 1 point into protection, and then all 3 into Align the Elements. It's going to give us 3% damage reduction against elites for each second you haven't taken damage from one, up to 40%, which is huge. And you can use your Deep Freeze ultimate to kind of not take any damage from them if you really need that damage reduction. All right, so that's the skill tree. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm going with this. Let's go over to gear and skills. I'm going to go back to my saved planner over here, and we're going to go through all the aspects. I'm only using aspects from dungeons that you can get if you beat the dungeon. It goes straight into your codex. It is the lower range, so obviously you want to look for aspects that have a higher range. However, at least these are guaranteed. Let's take a look at this. So I'm going to show you a lot of different options and then the ones that I would pick. Of course, for gems too, let's go over that quick. Critical strike damage to vulnerable, max life, max armor. I think that's the way to go. You could also go for all damage resist to all elements. If it's like, you know, if you're fighting a Shava, you're probably going to go for poison resist, etc. I mean, use what makes sense to you. So over for our helm and our pants, basically our defensive legendary stuff, I have marked a couple of these as favorites because I think they're really good, but the ones we're using are damaging an elite grants you a barrier, absorbing up to X damage for 10 seconds. This effect can happen only once every 30 seconds. This is a really good way to get a barrier during a boss fight when your ice armor is not up, to get a barrier against an elite. I use this in the beta. It was really, really good, and it's from Fractured Peak, so it's super easy to get it real quick right at the beginning of your playthrough. The second aspect we're using is Exploiter's aspect. You have 20% increased crowd control duration. While enemies are unstoppable, you have 20% increased damage to them. This goes up to 50, but of course, if you get it from the Codex, it's going to be 20. This is going on our chest. I use this in the beta, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys, but are bosses unstoppable? Either way, it really, really, really helps against unstoppable enemies. The other aspects you want to look out for that are not Codex ones that you can get from dungeons are Frost Nova gains an additional charge, but the cooldown per charge is increased. That one's a little sketchy because the cooldown is so much, but if you find that your cooldown is getting reduced by using the methods that I described with the skill tree, then you could probably use this. It's really nice to have two. And then we put this one in here because while it's not a codex, I feel like this is from the campaign, I believe, from when we were in the beta. I think this comes on the amulet that you get when you're like level 20 through the campaign or whatever from the beta. Anyways, when hit while not healthy, a magic bubble is summoned around you. This one's really good for world bosses. This is good for co-op play, group play, whatever. So make sure that one person in your group is running this. If you find it, if you grab it from the campaign, this is a great one just to put on that's really generic and doesn't matter what type of build you're running. So I just plopped this on my pants. Now going to the offensive, we've got Aspect of the Expectant. This one says attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill. This is a great kind of tit for tat type of thing. This is only going to be 5%. It goes up to 30%. And then we're also going to grab, you deal 30% more damage to immobilized, stunned, or frozen. Super great one for us. Ice Shards pierce 3 to 4 times, dealing 25% to 20 less damage per subsequent hit. This one is so important. So important. You can get it in Fracture Peaks, so it's super easy. The other one's in Kyrgyzstan. How do you say that? So I don't know which act that is. Comment below if you know. Edge Masters, I think everybody has this on theirs, dealing up to increased damage based on your available primary resource. It's only going to be 10%, but you know, 10% is 10%. And then lastly, we've got you deal 11% increased damage to vulnerable when you have a barrier. This one's really, really good for Sorcs as well. Another one I marked here in case you come across it and you just happen to get it is basic skill attack speed. This is really nice for getting those 10 arc lashes to reduce your cooldown. All right, next up, mobility aspects. These are super important. We've got this one right here that gives us a 20% movement speed for 3 seconds after we teleport. Our teleport has like an 11-second cooldown, so we're going to be having this up for 3 seconds out of that 11-second cooldown. And also, if you get any armor that has plus points into teleport, that would probably be helpful too for early game. And then lastly, over here on our ring, we've got using a cooldown restores 15 to 25 mana. This is huge. I don't know where Hwazar is as far as like acts go for campaign, but if you get a choice to go down into this area, I'm going to circle everything on the map for you. Definitely go over there. I'm going to put a map up now and I'm going to go through and circle all of these important sorcerer aspects that you want to go and get while you're running around through the campaign, exploring the areas, all that good stuff, so that you kind of have a map up so that you know, oh, I should go to this dungeon because I'm really close to it. And hopefully that helps out. I'm going to put a link to this leveling build down in the description below if you want to grab it for your day 1 playthrough. I'll be trying out different things and making updates to it and all that good stuff over at twitch.tv/abbyhour. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like it if you did and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.